and everything else, we're in good shape there. Save you guys questions there. Quarterback-wise, we're rotating, moving along as we have. Try to save you as many questions as possible there. There's not really anything to talk about that would make it different. We need to do a better job up front of being more physical, and we struggled protection-wise in this game, and we struggled penalty-wise, and we struggled special teams-wise. Those are the things that I've talked about a lot in preseason. Your hidden yards, which is your special teams return yards, being comparable to the other team, your penalty yards, and then turnovers. And we lost in all three of those categories. And in most cases, that'll generally end up being a loss for your team. And unfortunately, that's what happened Saturday night. Defensively, we did tackle better in that game. They got their backs against the wall. And to be quite honest, after watching the tape, we weren't that far off. One of the biggest issues is they were on the field the whole game. We couldn't get anything going on offense, they're back on the field. Couldn't get anything going on offense, they're back on the field. And so overall, we got a few things that we got to get cleaned up. But team's attitude's good. Most of them were hanging around yesterday. Obviously, they'll all be over here today for meetings and practice. But their attitude's good, and coaches are back at it and getting ready to roll.
Mike, you talked about tackling, and looking back on it yesterday, that's I was looking at how they got some of their runs. I give their back, especially the Webb kids, some credit, but there were opportunities to get them down at the line of scrimmage or just past. But they made good plays and stretched it to 5, 6, 7 yards.
And even more than that, like the first drive, we go down the field, we had everything the way we wanted it. We dropped the ball as a touchdown. We're up 7-0. In most cases, that's going to be a catch, and we're going to run in for a touchdown. Then we kind of have a little bit of the power, forcing them in their hand a little bit different. I think they were very well coached and had really good plans. But on the ensuing drive that they got the field goal on, we had them on 3rd and 11. We had 2 missed tackles. They converted. We had them on a 3rd and 8. We had a missed tackle, and they converted. And then we should have had them on a 3rd and 6. And then they went down and kicked a field goal. So we put ourselves in this position. And then, interestingly, from that point moving forward, we only had a couple missed tackles that were somewhat glaring that cost us. I mean, there's going to be some missed tackles in games, but the glaring ones are the ones we want to try to eliminate. We got out of our gap. We were in an all-out pressure blitz, come after them, try to stop them at the end of the game. We got out of our gap when they hit us on the long run. We were in desperation mode, and we would like for that to not happen, but sometimes that does happen.
And on their first touchdown, the pass, it just looked like a plain leverage deal on the coverage.
They caught us in man coverage, got us play action, and got Kendall flat-footed. Guy's a good player, caught it, and got him flat-footed.
Mike, does it alarm you that they were more physical than you?
You know, they really weren't as much as I thought. After I watched the tape, if they were more physical because of the way they were able to rush the ball at times, but when we got beat in protection, it wasn't because of them being more physical. It was because we were in poor technique and they ran around us. And then once we got behind by multiple scores, we became a one-dimensional team. And then that's a disadvantage for anybody, in particular us right now. We need to try to stay balanced.
How, through 3 games, do you think Brian Nardo has done in-game adjustments?
He's been good. He's done good. Yeah.
Anything in particular that stood out about it?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of detail to it, but, I mean, he's been good. He's been good at understanding what's going on. He has answers when it happens. He knows what's happened. He knows you're going to get it sometimes. They're going to get you. You're going to get them back and forth. And if something happens, there hasn't been a time that I've heard that he doesn't know what an answer is, and then where we've tried to get it stopped. Like, there was quite a bit of adjustment in his latter part of the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter with what we did on defense to slow them down. Some things that we hadn't planned on doing that we adjusted on the run, which he did a pretty good job.
Grades-wise, how did your quarterbacks come out?
They were all pretty good.
Mike, is your plan was picking to rotate 3 quarterbacks right now?
Yeah, same thing I said when we started. I'm just trying to save you all the questions. I mean, I'm good. You can ask them, but I'm just trying to save you. There's nothing changed, I guess is what I'm saying.
On the other side, on offense, how would you say Gunn has kind of adjusted in game through 3 games and how the offense has looked adjusting through 3 games?
Well, we've made good adjustments. We've been a better running team in the second half we have in the first half, but we didn't have a chance in this game because we're too far behind. Because if you run the ball with the running clock now, and you're just going to run out of time, the math of the clock versus being down 3 scores is going to work against you. That's what happened to us. So we had to pretty much shelf it and then just go to all pass. Then we're vulnerable in protection. We didn't protect very good. That's not one of our strengths, and so we were exposed at that particular time.
With the quarterbacks, is there a breaking point where the rotation starts to actually cost you going forward because guys aren't getting as many reps as they maybe would be with the first team?
I mean, yeah, you could always say that. That you could say that, like a quarterback from I don't know what school, somebody that's played every snap has gotten 150 reps, to where our quarterbacks have only gotten 60 or 50 or whatever. So yes, you could say that.
Does that concern you?
Yeah, that concerns me. To a point. If I start seeing MAs, then it concerns me more. These guys haven't had a combined, they haven't had very many MAs. They understand what they're doing and progressing and where to go with the ball in the run game and the passing game. They've been pretty good from that standpoint. But that's what you worry about.
Does any part of you want to just break your glass on Zane and see what he can do too? Or 3-man?
Zane's not ready. Not ready. Great future, great prospect, love every bit of it, but Zane's not ready right now.
Well, South Alabama clearly is a good team, and they beat
Mhm,
all
they're a
kinds
good
beat all kinds of people. But the dominance they showed, it seems to be a red alert for your team to be dominated like that, beating 33-7.
Well, we got exposed. I mean, when we went into the game, what happened to us is what we have to avoid happening to us, because we're not far enough along, we're explosive in us, and then we got set back when Stribling went out of the game to be able to get behind and rally back and then be able to rush the ball some and balance the game being down 3 scores. Then defensively we get into a different mode, because now we're trying to at least just get on top of them, come after them, stop them, get the ball back as quick as possible, because the clock's working against us. So we kind of get out of our box in both sides. And I'm not saying what you're saying is not correct, because the final score ended up being that way. We don't get to do this, but I'd love to have a chance to play them again. But unfortunately, we don't get that chance. But I said this in here last week. They're good enough to play in a Power 5 conference, in my opinion. And I think he's doing a really, really good job coaching. They have good coaches, and they're getting good players. You know, they put, I'll be wrong with my numbers, but they put like $100 million into facilities there. I don't know if you guys know this. They have the largest indoor football training center in the state of Alabama, and they're within a 4-hour radius of a lot of football players. That's going to be an up-and-coming program. The guy's doing a good job. We still played poorly and didn't execute and didn't get it done, and we should have played at a higher level and give us a chance to win the game. But what you said is correct. They are a good team, and they've got a good setup going on down there.
Mike, back to the run game. I understand what you said about the clock and getting behind, but first possession of the game, it's obviously 0-0. You don't run the ball at all. The next possession, it's 3-0. You run it once. The next possession is 10-0. You run it twice. I mean, do you need to run the ball more earlier in the game?
They have an extra guy in the box every play. They force us to throw the ball. Because if we run it there, we don't have a blocker for one of their guys. And they play a single high, and they drop that guy down low. You have to hurt him in the throwing game to get him to back out and even out some. For example, Tulane hit him 3 times in the first 10 minutes of the game on deep passes when they played him. That got them moved out and balanced out. They were able to rush the ball a little bit. So they came down on us, and you can run it, but you're going to, if you're just a general fan watching it, you're going to see people blocked and then one guy hitting you 2 yards. That's because there's an extra guy. So you have to be able to force the throw, and you got to be able to hurt him to get him out. That's what their plan is, and it worked. And we couldn't. Then we didn't protect well enough, so then we ended up going backwards. When we did hit a throw, we dropped it. We had a couple, 2 or 3 drops at times that would have helped us. Then when we were moving, we got penalties. The one that we got where we sprinted out and we threw the pass and they called it back on us, we chop blocked a guy face to face, and they called a cut block outside of the tackle blocks, which they can do that, but it's kind of gray of where that box is. That happens a lot, and they called it on us. That wasn't any fun. So what you're saying is right, but that's why early in the game they're standing a guy right there, an extra guy right there to stop the run.
Overall, a guy like Ollie gets 3 carries at the end of the game. I assume something 5 times that if he wasn't.
Yeah. But what you got to remember now, we're behind by 3 scores, and that contributed. All of this is what you're saying is correct. I've already done the numbers in my brain laying in bed, and what you're saying is right. But the perfect storm that got built, if we would have just started running the ball in the third quarter, we never would have had a chance to win the game. Yeah, I mean, so we lose. So we could do that, and we lose 24-12 or 15, or we go and try to do what we did, and we have sacks, which we didn't want to have, and they get the ball back, and we lose whatever it was to whatever it was. But if you lose 40-something to 10, or you lose 24-18, you still lose. So in my opinion, the only chance we had mathematically was to not run the ball because the clock's still running. And when they're playing with a guy close to the box, if you run it and you get a successful run, it's going to be 6 to 7 yards, and then the clock's still running.
I heard Jenny say this morning on Sirius.
Well, real quick, but we started running draws, quarterback draws, to try to balance it out and help us a little bit.
Could you have done that, the quarterback draws? Would you have done that as much with Coleman? Because he's not sort of perceived as a guy.
I mean, he does it, but I mean, he's not going to run like Gunner does. I mean, I'm just going to say, that's not what he does. But he can do it, and he did it some. They did it a little bit with him at Tech when they would spread him out. Coach Kingsbury would do some of that stuff with him. Go ahead.
No, I heard Jenny say that this morning, and I was wondering on Ollie's number of carries. The next series that Jenny would have gone to, Collins was in. He ran 3 straight times, 4, 5, and 4 for a first down.
Right.
With really not a lot of help. He kind of did it a lot on his own.
Yeah, the extra
Did
guy.
that influence the rotation? The fact he's
Yeah, there were some counters. The extra guy was a little further away. We went to a little bit of a more counter with him there. And the extra guy was a little further away, but we had some success running it. But the clock was still working against us at that time.
With
And
the
through
off-
Sorry, Scott. Through the first 3 games, the running back carries have been, fairly even. Is that something you would all learn from in 2021 when Jalen Warren kind of took over the lead back role?
Jalen took it over, and it was clear cut. Like when we went to Boise, I don't know, were you here?
I was here.
I couldn't remember if, both of you obviously would have been here. But I was just going to say, I don't know if either one of you was, but obviously both of y'all traveled together. Point being is when we were at Boise, he took over. Like when the game was over, we were like, this guy took over. And that could still happen with one of our backs.
And my point was Jalen Warren toward the end of that year got kind of worn down. Maybe because the bulk of the carries were from him. Is that something you're?
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah.
Jalen got hurt before the last 2 games of the year, I think. He got hurt, and we couldn't play him, which we didn't want that to happen, but that's what happened to him. It was that a little more than getting worn down. He's pretty durable and tough, but he had a legit injury.
With off-season changes you made, particularly in run game stuff, you stood here and told us you felt like you were better than you were a year ago. You still feel that way at this point?
I do.
What do you think's been missing?
Well, the last game we got too far behind. In the first 2 games, we made adjustments and ran the ball much better in the second half, and we missed the run game concepts, the schemes going into the first and second game, and we had to make adjustments on the run. In the last game, it's hard to run the ball when you're down 3 scores, period. So we basically lost a half. The first of the game, they put everybody down there and said, run it if you can. There's an extra guy going to be here. Throw it. And so you guys, you can do your research and look around, but running the ball has not been what a lot of people have done. It's tougher now to run the ball than ever. My youngest son went to the South Florida-Alabama game because he lives down there now. And I didn't see any of it. He just said Alabama really struggled running the ball. Now, I don't know if any of y'all saw it, but he goes, I don't know what the deal is, but they really struggled running the ball. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird because, and then I look at the numbers, like I try to look at numbers across the board and gauge kind of what's going on, and it's people are not running the ball as effectively as they did in the past, in my opinion. So we need to get better, and we have to improve, and we're going to stay the course because we're not changing what we do because we cannot change in midstream. That's my choice. But we need to improve in that area to try to balance it out. When we get somewhat good numbers, we're like in football we talk about there's an extra guy or there's a half guy, right? You've heard that. The guy's halfway. Okay, I'm covering Danielle in the pass. I'm stopping the run over here. Well, that's a half guy. You got to be able to run the ball in a half guy because you're never going to get this guy to go all the way out here and just let you run the ball. Okay? It's a simple concept. You can sit up top and look at the game and count. We have 5 linemen and we have a fullback. That's 6. So if they have 6, we have equal numbers. And then if the guy's halfway, it's a half man. Or if the guy's in a hip and standing tight, we're 1 man short. Okay? I mean, it's simple numbers. Sometimes you have to run it into that, but you can't make a living doing it. We can't. And then the half guy is the one that you have to defeat where you can rush the ball effectively for 4.5 yards a carry to be able to be a good running team because you're not really going to see anything less than that in today's game.
With that said, then, are the pass protection issues maybe then more concerning through these 3 games?
So I've been doing this long enough, and I've known y'all long enough, and I'm just going to tell you the way it is. Half of them were bad. Half of them was because they knew we were throwing passes. Okay? You and I are equal. You got to block me. I know you're throwing a pass. I don't care about this gap. I am coming up the field. Or I am running to you, and I'm swatting and ripping, or I'm spinning and doing whatever, because I don't have to worry about a run because I know you're throwing a pass. Hard on you, easy on me. Half of the time. The other half, sport protection. We've got to be better.
Yes.
And we got to quit getting penalties. Okay? So all of this contributed to a perfect storm. Then we're desperate, and I've gotten beat a couple times, and the guy hits me on a move, and I grab his jersey. Now I get flagged. So that's a discipline deal that I have to make sure that we get coached. I told the players the same thing. I will tell them. I haven't seen them yet. That I'm telling you right now. I already told the coaches this morning. So we need to see results from that. They had a really good plan and did a great job of coaching. We got out-coached, and we didn't execute. That's what I said after the game, and that's what I'm saying now after watching the tape.
What do you see in Iowa State?
The same thing that they've been in the past. They're really good on defense. They're doing what they do. And then they're a 13 personnel team on offense. And they're going to do what they do. They're going to run counters. They're going to run zones. They're going to run play pass, try to suck you in, get the ball thrown out there. I mean, they're a wall return, punt return team. They are what they are that I've known them for years.
I know you're overcoming some things here, but the fact your offense has looked at odd man front so much more, which is their staple. Do you think that'll give you a jump?
Both teams. We're not identical in what we do, but there's similarities. So we come in with some of the odd man front, they've seen it. They come in with odd man front, we've seen it. So there'll be more similarities in this game than the times that we've ever played against Coach Campbell and I.
Mike, when you say you've been out-coached, what do you mean by that?
I just thought their concepts and their schemes, they got their players to execute them better than we did. See, we get results. We're in a pass-fail system. On Saturday, we get a pass or a fail. We don't get a 50 or an 80 or a 75. We either fail, like we did Saturday because we lost, or the last 2 games, we get a pass because we won. But the results that you see on the field are basically the players are only doing and executing what we're coaching them to do. And I'm not just saying the staff, but me, all of us. So I have to watch how things filter down and get in practice and get executed. And then on Saturdays, they show us how much and how well they've been coached and what their execution is. That's what I mean. Didn't look good to me Saturday. So all I know is what I see.
Coach, something that stood out to me in your post game was you said Tuesday and Wednesday were fantastic practices.
Now I used Tuesday fantastic, Wednesday was good.
Good, okay.
Last week, Tuesday was not good and Wednesday was average. I was really worried out there just in practice. Last Tuesday's practice was really good. I don't know if it used fantastic, but I'm going to buy it. And it was good on Wednesday. So I don't have an answer for that. That's why I was a little bit confused. But I've seen that before.
Whatever the minor problems, clearly you get those worked out.
Mm-hmm.
The major problems, can they be fixed?
I don't think we have majors.
You don't
I mean,
think
I'm just
that?
being honest. I mean, I'm going to be able to give you a really good thought 3 weeks from now. Let me go back now. What we did out there Saturday was ugly. I'm not saying anything other than that, but I'm saying it's not. I don't see it as a major issue. I see it when I watched the tape. I felt a lot better than I did when I went home. Let's put it that way. I think everything that we're doing we can improve in enough to play and compete and give ourselves a chance to win games.
I know Charlie changed up some offensive line guys personnel-wise there in the second half. Is that, I'm not saying are you going to start the same 5 guys, but is there more competition maybe now?
Well, there is, but we also, Springfield was getting a little bit healthier. He can do some, not a lot. He was coming back some, so he's traditionally been a starter and been a solid player for us. So we worked him in. A couple guys were getting out of control, grabbing penalty-wise, so we brought them out a little bit, tried to calm them down as we move forward. That's kind of what that was.
We talk about this a lot, but you mentioned Alabama. Is there just more parity everywhere?
Yeah, and he texted me. They played 3 quarterbacks, right? Yeah, or am I wrong?
I think that's right.
Yeah, see, he and I are just the same.
But not for the reasons that you guys did.
He just has 6 or 7. He's got 6 or 7 national championships, but he and I are the same. Say it again, Jenny.
He yanked him. He was pulling guys.
He was.
Performing well. He didn't have a
He can do
rotation.
pretty much whatever he wants to do.
Clearly.
I've got the reins on me, but go ahead.
No, there you go.
Yeah, the parity. Is South Florida hanging with Alabama? South Alabama beating you?
Yeah, beating our butt, kicked our butt. I told Coach after y'all kicked our ass. So, good job. It's in my opinion, it's more than ever, just because of the moving parts involved. But it's the same for everybody, right? We have to deal with it. Like, it's not going to be any. I mean, there's not anything that we can do other than start to piece a team together in the spring of what you have, and then find a way to get them ready to play in September. But the different players that are jumping around are affecting teams and makes it much different than it ever has been. And we're still learning here. I mean, we're learning how to adjust to some of this stuff. I wish I could just say I have all the answers, but we're going to keep working at it. I would like to keep my guys and train them for 3 years and let them play. I'm more comfortable with that because I get them in a system and we teach them and we coach them, we bring them along and they learn. But that's not going to be that way anymore based on the movement of players, the way it is.
You ever seen anything like what we're seeing out of Dion
In what area?
in this
Well, he got rid of
awful
his,
program, and all of a sudden he's got 80 new players, and they're
Yeah.
against a pretty good schedule. They're 3-0.
Yeah, somebody asked me about him 3 or 4 weeks ago. Here's the thing with Coach Sanders. The thing that I don't know him, but here's what I like. He's going to do what he wants the way he wants to do it, and he believes in it, and he don't care what anybody else thinks. Now, he may be making more from Burger King and Aflac and whoever else, and it might not matter, which is all the power to him. But from a distance, what I see is this is what he believes in, and this is what he did. And I'm guessing that they would have to practice against each other all the time because their roster numbers would be down. But it's worked out for him. Now, I haven't really seen them play much. I saw him play a little bit at TCU, but I haven't seen him play anymore. But the part I did see is that his son is making a lot of plays, or is making a really good player, making a lot of plays, and they're playing into his strengths. And I thought that was good. But it'll be great for our conference. But he certainly proved that you can get rid of your whole team and bring a new team in and play good.
Anything else for Coach?
Mike, you were talking a second ago about having guys for 3 years, bringing them along.
Having what?
Having guys for 3 years, bringing them along. I mean, everybody has to do that to a degree, but that's been your bedrock, is finding guys, making them better than they were when they got here. Can that continue to be your bedrock with all these moving parts with the portal and stuff?
No, I mean, because more players are going to move around, so I don't think you'll have the core that we've always had here. And that's kind of what I was talking when answering Barry's question. We're going to have to find ways to supplement it, because history's telling us over the last couple of years that there's a percentage of your team that was going to go somewhere else. And if they do, then we have to try to find other guys to come in here that are in the same maturity level and age group, and then we got to get them in the system and try to get them coached up. In December, during bowl practice or the end of the season practice or whatever we're doing, we're going to really look and see where we're at, and then what we look for when we bring in portal players, and start doing some studies on what we need to do, and then what we need to do concept-wise, to where maybe we're doing too much early and everybody's not getting in the system. So there's just a lot of things to look at. It's different than it has been for us. I don't know about anybody else. So.
Can you wait that? Can you wait that long? Because a lot of guys going 1st of December.
Well, no, what I'm saying is look back at the year and look back at the portal players that we took like this year, and do a case study on how much did we try to get them to know and get executed early in the season, and then what actually are we capable of doing based on having 18 new players. I don't know any other way to do it other than research it and try to study it.
How does transfer portal recruiting impact your high school analysis and evaluation of guys that are in high school?
You evaluate them at the level. Like, we can watch transfer portals versus their level and get an idea. We should be able to. And then high school is high school. But what it does is we're going to have one more year of not as many high school players being recruited, because you still have some COVID hangover guys, 6-year guys. That'll eventually run its course, and then it should get back to regular high school recruiting. Good.
Do you anticipate opponents are going to try to replicate what South Alabama did to you guys?
Do I do what?
Do you anticipate they're going to try to replicate the same thing?
You talking about offense, defense? They're not the same. Iowa State's defense is completely different than South Alabama's, and they're good on defense. They believe in what they do. He's going to do what he wants to do. He doesn't care what anybody else does. And then offensively, they're more of a 13 team, which is 3 tight ends. It's a little different concept of what South Alabama had. So they might try to see some of it and pick some things out, but it's 2 different concepts.
With what Deion's done, do you think that changes the way coaches look at the portal and making the portal changes?
Well, I'm sure there's coaches that'll look and say, if coaches get frustrated in the year, like, okay, I'm getting rid of him, get rid of him, get rid of him, get rid of him. All right, these 30 guys are out. There could be somebody to do that.
Thanks, guys.
All right.